Didn't get to mention the best sequel of the whole season, which was My Wife's Sukan's Present Season 2. Thank you very much. Better than Sound Euphonium. Better than Hike. No.
Welcome to Spoiler Alert Podcast, the podcast where we talk about the latest episodes in anime. You have been warned. Before we begin our discussion, let's introduce our guests. Today we have on the show Michael, or CyanideBlizzard. Hi, Michael.
Hello.
Woo! So, Michael, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do in the anime community?
I make videos that anger people. I do first impressions with Draconis March. I sit down, watch the first episode, and hopefully I either make you smile or make you facepalm, but hopefully you were entertained.
Awesome. So the anime shows that we're going to be discussing for this episode is going to be Izetta, The Last Witch, episodes 1 through 4, Kiss Him Not Me, episodes 1, 2, 3, Drifters, episodes 1, 2, and 3. We're going to do a little Keijo first impressions, and then maybe do a little Yuri on Ice at the end. Does that sound good to you guys?
Let's do it.
Delightful.
All right, Michael, go ahead. Start off with Izetta.
So, alright, Izetta. Okay, picture, if you will, in your mind, World War II, except not everything is as it seems.
Flashbacks.
We've got a young lady, Princess Fine. She's going out, she's trying to recruit someone who will help join her in her conquest against the evil Germanic Empire. And, along the way, unfortunately, she faces trial and tribulation. She loses a bodyguard, but she must move on. She will move on until she eventually gets captured. What is going to happen to our heroine? Boom! We are introduced to the childhood friend, a young woman with red hair that flies an anti-tank rifle. That's Izetta for me. Izetta is a delightful alternative take on World War II with actually a pretty strong female character, a little bit of unnecessary fan service, but ultimately a very interesting story with enjoyable battle scenes and a decent developing plot thus far for the first 4 episodes.
Mm-hmm. So, you've caught up completely with the show, right?
Yes, it's a first time. I can't even believe it. And normally I don't, so this is a rarity. It's weird. It feels uncomfortable.
So you're aware then that we live in the United States of Atlanta?
We do. I'm very glad that Atlanta was able to secede and take over the United States, and more importantly, that graphic design and advertisement has been able to thrive. More so as well that we have a character that is able to grope other people to ascertain their measurements.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, I wasn't really a fan. Okay, there is a lot of fan service, a lot more than I thought there would be in this show, especially I think there was that shower scene. I think their purpose was to show off that scar, but they could have done it in a better way, in my opinion.
I never care.
Oh, you don't
you
care. Just throwing caution to the wind there.
Yeah, I find a lot of people get really mad over fan service for no reason or make too big of a deal out of it. I see it for what it is. It is a way to possibly sell figures in the future, get people attached to the character in more ways than just personality, and it works, so I can't blame them, but it doesn't bother me, so.
So, a funny story, when I first got into anime, I literally bought anything and everything I could get my hands on. And needless to say, one of the first shows I bought was Amazing Nurse Nanako, which, if you've ever seen it, it's a character with ginormous breasts, and they bounce up and down all over the place. The show wasn't actually terrible from what I remember, but anyways, it was from that point on, my friends, because we all watched it together because I wanted to share it with my friends, kind of associated me as a bit of a pervert. But my mentality was just, whatever. Fan service is fan service. Obviously, sex sells. It's never stopped before. It doesn't stop television, doesn't stop movies, doesn't stop even music album covers. So, that's kind of the scantily will always have a place there. For something like Izetta, I almost felt that in an aspect, it sort of kind of takes away from some of the seriousness from certain things. Now, that kind of plays into a bit of what you said, where, it's looking too deeply. I probably am with that, but, for myself, I think that the story and the characters are strong enough to where a bond can be developed to where they don't have to be, I guess, almost sexualized in a sense. Like, there's a really good example in episode 2 where we see the scar yet again when Izetta has taken Fine to the encampment and a doctor's working on her. We get this underboob shot and then the scar, and it's kind of like, why am I seeing that? I mean, hey, she's got a nice figure, by all means, but it's just kind of one of those things where you're like, well, why? So you kind of question that.
I think they were showing that scar was when she got hurt when she was younger, right? Like, it was kind of like was that the point of it? Like, to show that, she still has that scar from when Fine was pretty much protecting what's her face, the witch
it's the name of the Shoshin.
I said I blanked out.
Good job.
Yeah, basically, like, showing that she still has that scar that shows that she protected her when they were younger. I just felt that. I mean, I'm not gonna make this whole thing about that fan service, but I just felt that one scene that kind of popped out with the shower just seemed a little unnecessary and kind of like took away. It just kind of like added a random fan service to a show that seems a little bit more serious than a lot of the shows that are showing this season. So
with that said, it's definitely not necessary with this show. I can agree with that. It stands on its own 2 feet rather well and doesn't need to stand on a pair of breasts. But I don't let it bother me most of the time. The first shower one was definitely a bigger offender than the other times. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially since you have a death of a side character, war propaganda, shower scene.
Yeah, and there was more being revealed than they needed to. They could have, like, honestly steamed it up even more or whatever. Like, they do that in a lot of shows where it's like a lot of steam and whatnot, and you don't really get a lot of fan service. It's just sort of like reminding you, I guess. I don't know. It wouldn't have worked either which way well, but I just don't care. So I just know a lot of people overly complain about that kind of stuff. So I like to bring it up whenever it's mentioned.
No, absolutely. It's a great point to mention that there is a good place for it, and, it does fit in with it. And that's the kind of the thing, is to look at, well, is it being too nitpicky, or is it a legitimate criticism?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's definitely the difference. I'd say the first one I would much more agree with than, for example, like you said, that second one where, like, in a tent or whatever, and, they're looking at she's looking at the scar, and, like, she's reminded again of what happened, and you get more background onto what that scar is.
And we did actually see it too, about what actually happened, how Izetta was basically, attacked by the village people because they didn't like her because she was a nomad, basically, with her grandma at the time, and Fine was the one that protected her from the village people, so to speak. But I mean, the story is very interesting. Obviously, it's a take on World War II. I always like those World War II series. I'm not really much of a historical, but this one has more of that fantasy aspect with Izetta, being a witch and being the White Witch, and there's like this lore through in the series with this White Witch that I guess made or protected. What's that country called? I can't pronounce it.
The United States of Atlanta.
No, Ellis-Dad. I think that's how you pronounce that country.
Yes.
I don't know. I don't think it's a real country. I hope I'm not, like, mistaken. But
no, I believe it is fictional. I think
okay,
you're safe.
good. I think it's supposed to, like, it has, like, that, like, Switzerland kind of feel to it. Like, it's in that general area from what it looks like on the map. But it has, like, that lore of the witch that protected the country, I think, many years ago, and she's supposed to be like the second coming of the witch or something like that. From what I'm seeing, so it's good. It's an interesting story. What do you think of it, Ray, so far?
I'm definitely interested to see more of what's going to happen with that. Like, there's a past here. Like, she's connected to this White Witch basically now at this point, and what was so significant about her? Like, there's a scene in the most recent episode where it's I think it was her grandmother that was traveling around with her. That mentions that the White Witch was a traitor, and that intrigued me. I just want to learn more about that, and how all that stuff came to be. And of course, it's a little interesting too, because if anybody knows anything about World War II and Hitler and all that stuff, he was kind of a weird guy and was interested in a lot of odd things. So it actually makes the setup really interesting in that way as well. That
especially with how they introduce.
It ties
Izetta.
into history a little bit, actually. So
How Izetta was in that capsule. I'm guessing, captured by Germany. I think they call it Germanian or whatever. How she was basically captured by the Germans. So yeah, I guess that makes sense too.
Yeah, so I really like the setting, and it intrigues me. I just want to see where it goes from here, because it's still at a point where it's got a really strong start, but it could fall flat on its ass still. So,
is this based off of a manga, or I don't know what this is?
I thought it was an original.
I thought so as well.
It looks like it's an original. It looks like it's an original done by Keijo Animation Works, and I don't think I've heard of this studio before.
It is an original, and let's click on them. They have done a few things before. They did, let's see, nothing really of note, actually. That Kujubiki Unbalanced whatever show.
Based off
Vampire
of the
Hunter
Genshiken?
D. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, the animation is pretty nice. I really like when they introduced Izetta in the first episode when they were kids. Like that whole all the ley lines or whatever that they had, like all basically the mana. Kind of her like taking in all the mana was kind of really pretty, and I liked it. I like what they've done.
According to AniChart, they're still in the single digits for how many actual shows they've done. They've done a decent amount of OVAs and movies, and most of the shows are all children's cartoons, not actual a little bit older
like
audience.
Series.
Yeah.
So this is basically kind of like their first real anime.
It seems to be their first more serious one. I mean, they did that. What is this one called again? The Emma one, I think.
Oh, the Victorian one?
Yeah, Nozomi licensed it, I believe, in America. But that one's, I guess, but would be the first, technically speaking. It came out in 2007, though. Yeah, they don't make a lot of stuff.
Well, I was looking at the thing, and it showed the writer who wrote it or for the show, and they've done, or I don't know, she has done work for like Guilty Crown, and where was it? They worked on Magi,
Character design.
Oh, and Code
really
Geass,
well.
and Code Geass. So I guess
Okay, I could see that. Like I was saying, the character designs are really great. Like, I love the outfits and everything, and it, like, Izetta's outfit that she just got recently with the whole red. It's got like the little boob hole, but it does.
There's that fan service that pops up there. Yeah, you're like, okay. Well, at least she can breathe through the outfit, so I guess that was considerate.
I think it looks good though. I really like the design of a lot of the outfits and stuff, and it just all fits really well.
Nice. Yeah.
It's really
Bun
well
Bun's
done.
artwork is beautiful. Obviously, people are going to recognize it because they did artwork for Sword Art Online. They provided the original artwork, so there's going to be polarities drawn to that. So, but yeah, no, very, very period pieces, and they fit. They feel pretty accurate in terms of that.
Oh, they also did Yuki Yuna?
Yuki Yuna as a hero?
Yeah, Bun has good fucking designs.
Wait,
one thing you have to give Yuki Yuna. I love the designs.
For the show.
Yeah,
I haven't seen it yet, so I have no idea. So yes, I mean, I'm going to continue watching it. It's very interesting. There's a lot of mystery, and like you said, Ray, I mean, this does seem like a show that could fall flat from what it is, especially because it's an original, These kind of shows sometimes fall pretty badly. But I was going to mention something, but I'm not going to. But let's go ahead. Let's go ahead into Kiss Him Not Me. This is probably my guilty pleasure of the season because I love it so much, and it kind of. I mean, I'm not a, what is it called, a fujoshi.
Girl, please spill the beans.
I'm not a fujoshi. I'm not really a fan of like shipping guys together. That's just not my thing. but because like she's like she basically starts off as this girl Kay who starts off like this like fat nerdy, like all she cares about is looking at two guys from a distance and imagining them like making out and stuff. And then one day she's watching her favorite anime, and the main character dies on the show, and she goes into like this traumatic moment, and she doesn't go to school for a week, and she comes back skinny and hot, and then all the guys that have that she's been involved with all of a sudden is in love with her because she's all hot now, and now she's going through like this thing where she doesn't really want to be the center of attention of these guys because, like I said, she's a fujoshi and she doesn't want the guys' attention. She wants the guys to pay attention to each other. But they're also like her friends too. So she's kind of going like in the recent episode where they wanted to go on like dates with her, and she didn't like that because it kind of ruined their friendship in a way. But it's my guilty pleasure. I love it so much. What about you, Michael?
That's so interesting. So because if you look at the premise alone, you're like, oh gosh, clearly this is going to be aimed towards a very specific audience. It's going to be very cliche and very boring. But the simple it's the ugly duck becomes the beautiful swan, but she still maintains those characteristics. She doesn't change her persona, and I think as a story, have a lot to work with there. There's a lot for comedy, a lot that can create drama, and I think that's so important for shows like that to have. They need that, and the show seems to have it in spades.
Yeah, one thing I have to say with that is I do like her. Like, she's a good character, right? I love the fact that she does actually retain who she is. Like, every now and then they'll even do that animated face where it still looks like it's all fat and chubby, and she's making like that gross like drooling over herself face. And I like that. It makes her a lot more likable character. The guys, on the other hand, except for one, which I think everyone knows which one I'll be talking about if they've seen it, flat out just only cared about her after she became hot. And I find it interesting that nobody complains about that. And you think it'd be the same people complaining about fan service, where these characters are kind of unlikable to an extent because of that. Because doesn't that make them a little shallow?
But that's real life, though. That's how people are. So it's so ridiculously relatable. I think anyone could be at some point like, yeah, I didn't think he or she or they were that attractive, but boy, later on. So I'm guilty of that. I don't know who else has done it, but it's relatable, And you make a good point, because it is shallow, but that's kind of the thing. You're just like, screw them.
I've been guilty of the other way around, where I thought they were hot one day, and all of a sudden, like, they come back and like, oh, okay, never mind.
I
don't know. The character I like the most of that show is the one guy who like hasn't been like, I don't know. He was just always nice to begin with, and when you first met him, when she was still fat, and now he obviously wants to date her, and that's a little more blatant. But he was always nice to begin with, though, so it doesn't bother me as much.
Perhaps the OTP.
Yes. I think you're talking about the main guy, right? The blonde guy's best friend?
No. He's shallow as fuck. Fuck him.
Really? You think so?
The senpai.
Oh, you think senpai is best guy?
He was nice to begin with, and he's always been nice this whole time.
I don't know. I've always thought, I think I'm looking up their names right now. Yosuke, whatever. He's the blonde guy's friend.
Okay.
I always thought that he was always nice to her, like in the beginning. I mean, senpai was always nice too, but I always thought he was like best guy.
I don't know. There's also the fact that when she admits like that she is how she is, he's the only one who wasn't like ridiculously like drawn back from it. He accepted her pretty fast, while everyone else was like, "Oh, really?"
Oh, like when they're in the bedroom?
Deal with this. Not even the bedroom. Like, I think it was the end of the second episode, or was it the first? Where she comes out with a pillow. And their reaction. That was the first episode. If you actually look at all their faces, his is actually drawn in a less, like, shocked manner. And all that. If you look at all these little things, I liked him a lot better because of that. He just seemed like an overall nicer person, and it made him seem less shallow. Although, I guess they're all kind of shallow for flipping on a dime there, but it is realistic, so...
Well, the blonde guy and then the Kohai, the short one. I think they're the most shallow one out of all of them.
Yeah, the blonde
because they
guy,
didn't care, especially the blonde guy. But I feel like he's gonna end up being like best guy or something.
Yeah, what they didn't. I know what his character archetype is though. Like he's the guy who you're gonna dislike at first, and they're gonna try to make him grow on you. Like that one's it's pretty much by the books. You know. This is kind of like Host Club kind of stuff, except Host Club did it better, and he was still somewhat likable to begin with.
Yeah, so, that's tough when you're comparing it to Host Club because Host Club was pretty strong.
It's like to me, it's a shining example of any sort of reverse harem. So,
you know, it's a good reverse harem. It's a game.
Oh, tell us more.
No, don't. Don't. These are my nightmares.
You play on your phone and you chat with Bishonen boys.
Oh, so, does this game have a name by chance?
Yes, it is called Mystic Messenger, and you all should play it.
I'm gonna get edited out right there that I was like slightly yelling so nobody could hear what she said.
No, but overall I like it because, you know, like the character's an otaku too, so she's not just a fujoshi. I can never pronounce that, but she's an otaku. You know, she loves, you know, anime and everything. And then that one scene that it was in the first episode when she came out with the pillow and she's just like, I have something to tell you. I'm an otaku. And I was like, oh, that feels so real. Or like when her little otaku bar was going out.
Here's something to bring up. How long until that gets completely tired out? Because I think a lot of people are already getting annoyed by it. That almost no character can just be a normal person. Everyone has to be an otaku in some way now if they're going to be the main character in an anime, a manga, a light novel, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. How long until that trend dies?
I don't think it's overused, though.
It depends on the use. I feel, you know, it's with a lot of male... If you put a male character in a harem, I think so. Vice versa, the reverse, I don't think it's going to be as bad, especially with how the show has been handling thus far, especially from what you've said. You know, it sounds like it's a little bit more of a different take on that. And it's nice because it gets tiring of having super perfect female characters or characters that are done that don't feel like actual females. So, you know, she actually feels like a person. Whereas the male taco, it's like, oh, you know, I'm a nerd. I play video games all the time. These hot chicks are pining for me. I'm plain and ordinary myself. You know, whereas with her, she became super hot. So you're like, oh, I could connect the dots. It makes sense.
Where I tend to draw a line personally is I think it works extremely well in any comedy show. Works great. It never bothers me. When you try to push it in anything else, like, okay, I'm just going to bring this up just because everyone hates on the show anyways. Sword Art Online. Like, he was always already a computer nerd. He was big into gaming, all this stuff like that. He couldn't have just been a normal player. Like, you know, no matter what the case is, they always want these people to be, I guess it's to be more relatable, but I just feel like it's starting to get played out by a lot of stuff. And a lot of shows are coming out slowly and slowly where it's not used as well. Even some comedies, I'd say, don't use it quite as well. And it's just, I feel like it's going to get played out soon because it feels like a lot of shows do it. What's that? What was there was two of them, wasn't there, where they got sent to like an alternate world?
One. ReZero. He was a gaming NEET, you know, and I think they used that characteristic of him because, you know, he was in this alternate world that was like a video game, and so he kind of treated it like a video game.
Yeah,
Konosuba as well.
Yeah. Konosuba.
Well, Konosuba's a comedy, so like I said, it gets away with it.
No, exactly. That worked perfectly for that show.
Yeah, it's becoming, if you actually really start thinking about it, like, you'd be like, oh, wow, there's actually a lot of instances of this in the last, we'll say, 4 to 5 years. And I feel like Horizon. It's going to get played out eventually. Yeah, Log Horizon, what was
and you might even say Grimgar, but we don't know if they actually did play video games.
We don't know anything about that one. That one is actually, I think, an example where they didn't do it. And that was a good thing. But there was 2 where they got sent to, like, they were fighting, like, military-wise and other...
Gate.
Gate,
yeah.
And there was another one, too.
There's another one?
What it was Outbreak Company.
Outbreak Company.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, like those, for example, both of those characters were. I mean, in Outbreak Company, it worked. The other one, Gate, I didn't care. It really did not matter to me at all. It didn't affect the story to me at all.
Oh, the fact that he was an
Because
otaku.
Gate wants you to join the JSDF. That's Gate's message. Join the Japan Special Defense Force.
It was just bad, but
So no, it's like in the late '90s, early 2000s, where the nerdy, weak-willed, limp-wristed male character was the protagonist of a harem series. It feels kind of a lot in that aspect where they just kind of beat it to death. Where you have shows like Love Hina, Girls Bravo, where it's just this character that Love Hina wasn't as bad, but like Girls Bravo, where like the character is afraid of girls, allergic to them, and it's just absurd. And I get a feeling after a while it's going to hopefully start being phased out like that was, but how long that may take is another story.
yeah, and that was like where I started from this. How long do you think it's going to take until we're done with this trend?
With the otaku main character.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
it like I think Michael said that it's because it's the most relatable character type you can get in an anime. You know, you're watching anime. Let's make an anime about the main character is an anime fan.
How else can we relate to our audience? We want to tell our audience a story. Instead of having them fantasize about being a character like, orphan, casting magic spells, or going on an adventure, something or another. No, we want our audience to completely relate to someone on screen that either possesses the same characteristics or is completely unlikable. So.
Yeah, I mean, but with Kiss Him Not Me, it's definitely a more fresher take on that because it is a female character this time. But she does still have that same like stereotype of what female anime fans are like, where they're like, oh yeah, we love we like shipping boys together, and there's still that kind of stereotype that they still put on her.
Are you
Not
telling me
stereotype
that
for
not
a
all
reason.
girls do that?
Yes, I am a prime example.
My dreams have been
Lies.
shattered.
I'm a
Pure
prime example.
lies.
I'm not lying. I've never shipped two guys together.
Well, clearly the anime industry thinks so. Japan's just like,
I'm sure the
full of it.
majority of anime fans, or female anime fans, are into that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's it comes around for a reason. Like it's a stereotype tend to exist for a reason. So they are trying to hit that audience, though.
Yeah.
So.
And if that gets more female viewers into anime, then why not? Let's go for it, because it hits. Because a lot of female anime fans are not really to the extent of the main character, but they do ship a lot of men together. I've shipped Yuri more often than I have Yaoi. So
I think anime actually is one of the best mediums to find a good balance nowadays. Between men and women, at least it feels that way to me. There's a lot of women that like to talk about anime between like YouTube, blogs, all that stuff like that. When you compare it to something like video games, where they're obviously a minority.
Mm-hmm.
They both have grown so much over just like the last 16 years in general. Because I remember when I first got into it, it's just I remember high school, like to find a girl that watched anime. She was either already in a relationship or she already had several guys pining for her type thing. I mean, that was just kind of how it went because they were so rare and to share commonalities and hobbies and so forth. So, yeah, no, it's a lot more expanding. A lot more people are getting involved. It's nice to see, especially in the YouTube community, because otherwise it's just nothing but guys, and you need varieties of opinions from all walks of life.
Mm-hmm. And you can see, actually, like, if you look at the shows that come out every season, there's a bigger majority now, I feel like, are being marketed towards the female audience. This Utaha no Prince Sama show that keeps getting fucking seasons for some reason that I have no understanding of. But
don't lie, you've kept up with it. You've watched every season so far.
Oh, you totally got me. Said sarcastically.
Calling you out here, calling you out.
But, I mean, if that's what girls are into, that's fine, but I mean, I'm actually happy that they exist, though, at least, because it does show that there's actually a relatively decent balance in the anime community. And I think that's something that people don't think about often, and we gotta remember that we're actually a pretty cool community sometimes.
Yeah. Even if it does come from Japan, which is, I hear, pretty misogynistic compared to other places, but that's interesting.
Yeah, and let's not forget, for every 3 shows that have lots of bouncing titties, there's some guy with his shirt off. So, I mean, it's still there at least.
Yay, you know? Shirtless boys. Okay, so let's go into Drifters. Is that me or you, Ray?
I can start this one off. Drifters is amazing. It basically starts off with a character that you have no understanding of who he is, but he really likes to kill people. And he what appears to be, dies. And I thought it was going to go a completely different direction at first. But then he gets, teleported and brought to a different world. And I guess the idea is a lot of major figures from our world are being brought to this other world to do battle, basically. And I did not see that coming with Drifters. I didn't look into it much when it first started. I just thought maybe he had some sort of power and wasn't going to die when he got stabbed by 13 spears.
Yeah, that was a little overkill.
Yeah, I was like, he's still moving. He just have a power where he doesn't die? No, he was just going to die, actually. So, it's really interesting. It's really action-oriented, which I enjoy because I just haven't been getting enough of my action fix lately, I feel like. And this is definitely doing it for me. And I'm interested to see where it goes, because we're getting a lot of figures now, and they're not just from Japanese history, but they're from just world history as a whole. Of course, there's going to be more for Japanese history, and those are going to be a lot of the main characters. Nobunaga, of course, makes another fucking appearance.
Of course.
In an anime again. So...
I think he's the pinnacle of historical figures in Japan.
Kinda, yeah. So it's really interesting though. I love the action scenes. I enjoy the characters, and there's just this fierceness about them. And I think it's partially comes from that Hellsing staff. A lot of these people that are working on it worked on Hellsing, apparently, from what I've heard. And you can see it, and it works really well for this show.
Yeah, I mean, I'm liking the action for it a lot. I'm not really a fan. I didn't really watch Hellsing that much because I'm not really a fan of super actiony, gory kind of stuff. This is definitely not my style of anime. But I think the story alone kind of got me into it because, like you said, it is full of historical figures, and I think I want to say the main character himself is also a historical figure. I mean, I'm sure the people in Japan are like, oh yeah, I know that guy. I learned him in history class. I only know Nobunaga because he's in other anime too.
Same creator, by the way.
Of what?
That's why Hellsing. It's literally it's just the same main creator. So
the manga.
Yeah.
Oh well, that makes sense, I guess.
Yeah. So that's why the art style looks that way.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that, but yeah, I think the story is I think it's that guy in the hallway that basically brought him to that other world. I think there's because there's another character that's in that hallway, and they're bringing in they're kind of fighting each other from what it sounds like, and so they're bringing in that other character is bringing in other historical figures, and then this guy in the hallway is also bringing in other historical figures, and then they're going to this war against each other. I don't know why. It hasn't really explained anything. I mean, and then there's also those elf-looking people. I'm so confused.
Yeah, well, it's another world. I think that was just kind of thrown in.
And then also they're magical. What are they? They're wizards, not wizards. I don't know what they are, but the ones that explain at the end. They're oh yeah, we brought you here because we wanted you to fight the Ends or whatever, which is the opposite of the Drifters. The opposite opposing team, I guess. So it's I don't know. And then I think the cool thing about this show is also that they use the different language too. Yeah. They're speaking in tongues. I don't know, some elfish language that they're speaking in.
That's actually something I really liked was all these characters to show you what kind of people they are, give them some more character. Every time they're getting made fun of or talked about, and it's downing them or something like that. they realize what's being said, or like if something serious is happening, like they're able to realize just by looking at these characters' faces. And when they yell at these characters and tell them something or whatever, they can, even though there's that huge language barrier there, like they can still understand each other. And I thought that was kind of cool. And I don't know, it's really an interesting show. I am interested to see where it goes. I thought it was cool that, like, on the bad side is Joan of Arc. Like, apparently it doesn't matter what anything about the historical context. You could be on like the good side or the bad side, apparently.
They it's whoever, I guess. I don't know. It seems like they just took not characters, but people who are about to die in battle, and they're just like, okay, we're gonna like summon them into this world, and then we're gonna like fight each other, basically.
Yeah, and what's another good example?
I kind of just spoiled myself a little bit. Damn it! I'm looking on the Wikipedia page. Don't look on the Wikipedia page.
Yeah, you gotta stop doing that. That's why I stick to any chart, but. It's just sort of interesting, too, because they're all sort of... It almost is like, I don't know if they are the good guys or the guys we're following, you know? No one really feels like a good guy. Almost like they even said at one point they're going to conquer, like, this village when they go to save it. Like, they called it Conquer.
Oh, yeah. Basically. Yeah, because I think that's kind of like Nobunaga's thing. I guess he was like a conqueror? Who knows? I don't know. But I liked, like, the characters that they introduced when they went into that...
He turns into a gun, Sheena, in case you didn't see that show. He turned into a gun in history. That's,
Oh my god. That's a different anime. That doesn't...
That's pretty intense. That's all I gotta say there, you know.
That's how he won his battles.
But I was looking at the characters that they introduced in the recent episode, and they had, like, some American people. Like, the cowboy-looking guy, I think that he was supposed to be, based on the character list, Butch Cassidy. And the kid, and they were, he had like this big old machine gun, and he just like took out the dragon. There's dragons in this, by the way.
Yeah, that brings up another question of how useful are certain people going to be? Like that plane guy, when his plane breaks, is he just worthless? You know, when these guys run out of bullets, are they just worthless now? Like,
maybe he can summon another plane.
He can summon planes on Will.
He summons planes from the real world, and he just, and then they're not even jet planes. It has to be like that like World War II style plane. Because that's the best they can come up with.
It's interesting. I'm really interested to see where it goes with that stuff, because it does feel like a lot of characters are going to be less useful down the road, and it appears that magic's involved in this show, obviously, but it's like I don't quite understand it yet still, but...
there's way too many questions.
Yeah,
still.
our given bad guys are sitting there using it, but none of our good guys seem to have any clue how to. And if they all came from the same world, that makes no sense. So it's confusing, but it's...
I do like the premise of it, though. The premise
the action
is
really good.
The premise of, putting a bunch of historical figures against each other, which is, it's kind of like, I want to say like Fate, where they put a bunch of historical figures and make them fight each other, but it's not in not that kind of way. When you actually think about it, it's kind of the same thing, because supposedly I think they're called the Octoberist or something, the Octoberist organization are the ones that summon these historical figures and are putting them up against each other, which is kind of like Fate, in a sense, with a different outcome or a different
they're definitely similar in that sense, I suppose. You could look at it that way. Although, to be fair, it's just a great idea to begin with, so more shows using this premise is not a bad thing.
It's actually really funny you said that, because that's what I was thinking the entire time. I was like, heroes that are summoned to this world that may not necessarily be good or bad, depending upon fiction, being able to continuously summon in planes, this kind of reminds me of Fate. But yeah, I think that's a good thing. It's a great premise, and it's being used in an interesting way, so I'm, kudos to that.
In a more brutal way, I would say.
Oh.
Fate was pretty brutal on its own, especially Fate Zero. But I think I'm not really sure, but I feel like Fate were all real people, right? Mm-hmm. They were all real, because I wasn't sure about the magician guy.
I was gonna say, I think that only a couple people weren't. I don't know anything about Lancer's character.
Yeah.
But I think everyone else actually, I think, was based
King
on
Arthur?
actual person.
Yeah, they were all based on historical figures of some
Like
aspect.
actual,
or
okay.
So.
That or like
Okay.
a myth like character. There's some sort of grounding in for all of them, I believe.
Okay. Yeah, so in a sense, it's kind of like it, where the Octoberists are magic people summoning us. Yeah, but it's really good. But by the way, the plane thing, I was kidding about that. We haven't
But that
seen
should be
him
a
summon
real thing.
plane.
That's why I say that should be a real thing. That'd be great. That'd be even more similar, which would be even better because people would be like, "Oh, this reminds me of Fate. I like this."
I can summon my own plane. I mean, that's all he
Summon
got.
my plane!
I'm pretty sure he's like probably some like famous pilot.
Yeah, well, yeah, he comes in though, like, his opening scene, instead of coming in with his plane about to crash because it's not working very well, it's like, okay, so this is gonna fail on him soon, so what happens when that plane no longer works? Like, that's my question. I want to see what they actually do with that. They even mentioned in the episode 3, we're running low on bullets for the cowboy characters, like, this is something that they're gonna run into, and I'm assuming there's an answer because they bring it up themselves, like they're actually mentioning it. So I'm assuming there's some sort of answer, but I'm just curious to see how they cover it, because I would almost get kind of annoyed if it's just, I summon a plane, that's my magical ability.
Well, I mean, but then I'm also wondering, because, you know, Butch Cassidy didn't have a machine gun, as far as I know. I don't even think machine guns were invented
they
at that
can
time.
take some liberties, Sheena, jeez.
Since when in Western, movies, did they ever have a machine gun?
Since when in Western movies have they shot down dragons?
They did have a contraption similar to a machine gun, but it was more closer to like a feed Gatling gun, though. So probably not close to
It was
that,
a Gatling
though,
gun. It was a Gatling gun, but it would seem more high power or more high fire rate than a Gatling gun. That's what it seemed like in the anime.
Well, it had to shoot pretty good if it's going to kill a dragon, Sheena, because I don't know how much you know about dragons, but the thickness of their scales are not.
Well, I watched The Hobbit one time, and so my knowledge in dragons are pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, I don't know if you've seen it, Michael, but if you haven't, you should check it out.
Well, I definitely will now. I'm on it right now.
So let's go ahead and on to Keijo first impressions. I think that was you, Michael. You're going to be the one to
Okay, so
explain this one.
I think that Keijo was a fantastic example of highlighting a woman's sport and presenting it in a manner that was very serious and very, I guess, potent to the audience. What an inspirational anime for women everywhere. You know, seriously, it's just, I'm jealous I'm not a woman, because I can't compete in this, only women are allowed, jeez, sexist. But Keijo is about a young woman who's a gymnast who wants to earn a bunch of money, which is understandable because we all want something to fall back on, whether it be for our family, for our children, or for our retirement. Saving up is important. Clearly, I don't think there's any real good 401ks in this world, so it's understandable. And Keijo is how she plans on doing it, and she's going to achieve that dream. She's a go-getter. She's got a great spirit. She's got spunk galore. Oh, so full of spunk. And with the help of her best friend, she's going to achieve that dream in this very serious, down-to-earth anime about girls that battle each other in swimsuits, and they can only use their butts and breasts, which I commend because, boy, I'll tell you, there's a lot of nerve endings in the breasts, and to do that without being in excruciating pain afterwards is tremendous. I think that these women should be applauded.
I'm going to assume your gender here and say that it's very sexist as a man that you would assume it would hurt to use your breast.
Oh. It's about the same amount of nerve endings that men have in testicles. So it's, you do anything to hurt that, and it's like, oh, the pain.
It does hurt.
Yeah.
Wow. I imagine doing that in like high-speed action sports.
High-speed action, and then the hips too. Oh, gosh, that's, boy, you break a pelvic bone, and that's You know.
Which the main character could have if she doesn't train hard enough, because she has an awesome power. What is it called, Ray?
Isn't it called the vacuum butt cannon? I believe?
The vacuum butt cannon. But the thing is, it's a devastating move that has serious repercussions, as we see in one of the teachers. She clearly suffered from executing that move, and as a result, it has seeped into depression and potentially alcoholism.
And excessive eating.
But our main character will not be swayed. She will not be detoured. She will pursue that path because she wants to achieve her dreams. Tear came into my eye. This is beautiful.
Yeah. Since this was starting off on apparently a serious note here, from what I understand, the anime is actually starting off on the 35th chapter, I believe, something like that, of the
They
manga.
skip a lot of the earlier parts of the manga.
Is it really?
Yeah, so, like, we actually are missing a lot of backstory. Like, you mentioned the gymnast thing. If I'm not mistaken, that wasn't actually, like, shown very well yet, wasn't it? I think it was maybe brought up in a couple sentences.
It's literally a throwaway line of dialogue that she says, and that's actually really important because a friend of mine recommended me the manga, and I read the synopsis, and I was like, you gotta be kidding me. He's like, no, just read it. Okay. And, yeah, that's the premise, is that she's a very talented gymnast, but she wants to make money. And there's no money in that, and she can make a bunch of money in Keijo, so there we go. You know, and they kind of really gloss over that, and I get why they did, but it's a shame. Because
I don't know if they're going to show some importance of her being a gymnast, because if she can, whip her butt like that, and that she learned from gymnastics.
Some great sentences here.
Well, okay, listen, the actual, English title is, Hip Whip Girl, from what I'm looking at.
Hip Whip Girl?
Hip Whip Girl. That is, the also known as title for Keijo.
Okay.
With 8 exclamation points.
Oh, yeah, of course.
You counted them, okay. Impressive.
I think somebody else did. Everyone else says 8, so I just copied what they did, so... You steal from one person, it's plagiarism. You steal from many, it's research.
Okay. In all seriousness, though, this show is pretty amazing, because it's so fucking hilarious. It tries to be serious, and then it takes you completely out of it, and I love it for that. I probably like this show for all the wrong reasons, but I am enjoying the hell out of this show.
Definition of a guilty pleasure. So I gotta say, the thing is that the director wrote about it that he wanted it to be serious and he wanted it to be treated seriously. And I feel I liked it, but I feel that it could have gone even further had it either been super serious, like the way I was describing it, or else just been super out of left field. And I feel that it commits to that direction, but not enough, because there's still kind of that wonkiness, which is fine. It works for the show and it's enjoyable to watch. But I feel like it really could have made its mark by just going that extra step, because the concept is so absurd. It's ludicrous. And to take it full serious would have just been... I mean, that's where you get the comedy from it. But they kind of do some little winks to you, both from the characters as well as from the show itself. And moments like that took me out a bit. That's just me being super nitpicky, though. But yeah. Mm-hmm. But I'm sorry, Sheena, I interrupted you.
No, it's fine. I think that they actually did take it in a very serious manner, but they knew that what they were doing. They made it, if you take out, the sport of it, and you just kind of, went down with the story, it's okay, we have a main character who wants to succeed in a sport. Take out the part of, that she wants to be rich and be famous, but, that she has this ability that, in the future, she's probably going to be the only one that can use it, because, it's mentioned that it's a very dangerous ability, right? And then you have, your best friend who's supposed to be, the fastest butt puncher or something. I can't say that seriously. But, then she has, this rival
her
that's...
butt punches are incredible. Take it seriously.
But she has, her rival who's supposedly known as the fastest, whatever those, classes were, but overall it takes this story, the show, I believe, takes it really, really seriously, and it still knows that it's ridiculous. which is probably for me the appealing part of it. I mean, I enjoy it. It has every element that makes up a sports anime, but it has like probably the most ridiculous, working out montage with the butts between their butt, or not the butt, the dumbbell between their butt crack kind of thing.
And if you've done that before, don't knock it until you tried it.
She needs to try it. Apparently, she has bad butt muscles.
I knew it.
But I mean, it's like it does take itself seriously, but it knows that it's it's a ridiculous concept.
See, I was hoping for something like Tommy Wiseau's The Room, where it's absurd in everything that it is, but it's being played seriously. Everyone is playing it serious, but it's because of how just ridiculous everything comes across as that creates that humor. And for me, that's kind of what I was hoping for, both in terms of the original manga as well as for the anime. I mean, by itself, it's fine. As you both said, this is my personal opinion, so I don't want to force that, but I was hoping for something that's just that ludicrous, where it's played entirely straight-faced, and it's just like, what? Why? Why are you taking this seriously? But no, it's still very delightful. I like the rivalry. I think a lot of people can easily draw comparisons to what they would consider typical shonen shows, Fairy Tail, Dragon Ball, Bleach, Naruto, where you have a character that wants to achieve a goal. They're starting off from a low place, and they're continuously working to get stronger and stronger because they have this potential within them, and they keep surprising people. I love the way the show uses those elements.
Yeah, it's interesting, but it's just hilarious. It draws that line, and then it crosses it every now and then of realizing that it's ridiculous. And I don't know. I'm just enjoying it because it's ridiculous. Every time you read a sentence talking about something like a move called the vacuum butt cannon, like you can't help but laugh a little bit,
And then it's funny because there's some history to that move too with that teacher. I mean, I don't think it blatantly said that, but based on like the flashbacks, it showed her, when she used to do Keijo, the teacher, and how she got injured trying to use it, and it's like trying to be serious, but it's not. But it's like it's hilarious, and I'm just gonna go along with it.
I love that moment. That was so perfect because it's played serious and it's just ridiculous, but you feel for the character because you see the result of it. The result is that she ended up gaining weight because her hip was so severely damaged. So it makes sense, like, okay, she's larger now because she's not able to do these things anymore because she injured herself seriously. And it's just, you feel bad for her. You really feel, and you feel where she's coming from in telling their main character to not do that move. Don't do it. Don't pursue it. If you do, you're out of the school. And it's such a serious moment, but like you said, it's played with a bit of comedy, but it's so straight-faced. I smiled at that.
And then the next scene is her being put in that restraining suit, basically, afterwards.
That ridiculous dominatrix gimp-style outfit. I don't know, yeah.
Yes. Like, it was like, okay, here's like a serious moment where where it shows how the teacher got to that point where you're not allowed to use this move. So here's a suit that you got to wear, by the way, if you want to, Well, they basically train her body from what it sounded or what it seemed like.
Here's another good example of like why I find this show hilarious. Astronomy and boobology lectures is a thing. And then, like I said, the vacuum butt cannon. There's a rhyme in here. No, not thy rump, never shall thou triumph. How can you not laugh at this show? Like, it is so utterly ridiculous that even when it's trying to be straight-faced, it's still funny.
Well, I don't know why you're laughing at this show. This is serious stuff, astrology, boobology. This is really legitimate, serious stuff. Butt running is a legitimate sport in Cambodia. Okay, I don't know why. I don't know why you got to be knocking this stuff like it's comedy. You're a terrible person, Ray.
I know. I mean, I've never denied that fact. But
I think that my favorite was their punishment for being in last place, where they had to do like butt laps or something like that.
That butt figure eights.
Yeah.
Very
Oh no,
good
it's
hip
figure
training.
eights. Yeah. I was
Yeah,
like, yes.
I actually was like thinking about it. I was like, that might actually work though, like rather well. Like, if you just wanted to
True.
actually like train.
What about dumbbells between your butt crack?
I feel like you gotta have a pretty strong butt already to hold dumbbells between your butt cheeks.
You have
Like,
to work up to it. It takes a while. It's
Yeah.
like butt running. You just can't sit down and butt run. You can't do it. You have to train.
No, you gotta butt walk first.
See?
I just
Ray knows what I'm talking about. Shame on you,
you're
Sheena.
gonna walk before you run. I just want to say that the studio that's working on this is also gonna be working on Full Metal Panic, so I'm kind of like, okay.
Well, if anything else, we still have the version that Gonzo gave us, so if all else. No, this should be really interesting. Very pleased. The strong character outlines, what do you both think of those?
I mean, it doesn't really bother me too much. I mean, there are moments where it's, you know how some scenes are like super heavy, but I don't know, it just doesn't bother me as much.
I didn't really care for like just about it. Really, it didn't affect me at all.
See, I was
It seemed kind of more stylistic.
Yeah, very much a stylistic choice. Wish they would have actually gone a little bit more because they cut off. There'd be some scenes where just the character in the foreground would have it, and anything else would just kind of be neglected, which is understandable. But yeah, I actually appreciate it from a stylistic standpoint. That was really nice. So I was curious of what you thought because I could see that being potentially a deterring factor. But to me, it was the cherry on top of the butt cake, if you will.
The butt cake.
Yeah, I've
You
never
just
had an
outlined the
issue
butt
with
more.
I've never had an issue with anybody trying out new things with anime. It turns out bad sometimes, it turns out good. This, I feel, works just fine. Just like No Game No Life, I felt like with the red outlines worked fine.
It did hurt the eyes a little bit, but once you got used to it, it was like whatever.
I don't even get that complaint. I never had that. The show itself was always just bright, so I just never had. I don't think that was it. But
Yeah, I mean, the sport's an interesting sport too. I mean, it's kind of like
it's a sport apparently.
the sport is interesting. I mean, it's like sumo wrestling, except instead of like trying to push each other off with your weight, it's just your butt, and it's on water, and there's swimsuits involved.
Listen,
So it's like sumo wrestling.
If this was actually a sport, I'd be watching it constantly.
Well,
So
they have
I'll give it that.
depth for different positions too, like you were touching upon before, Sheena. Like they're different, like a counter or like an outfielder. I think or something. I can't remember. There were 4 different ones they had. They had descriptions for them and kind of the qualifications of what fit that. It's very clear that a lot of thought was put into it, and you can at the same time you're like, wait, this is absurd, but this is also brilliant because it shows that work was given to craft it into something that felt believable. So you can buy into it even further, which makes it great, which adds to that level of comedy.
And then by doing that, it also puts them into rivalry, where the fastest, I don't even know what they're called anymore, but she does the butt punches, and she's like, I'm really fast at punching my butt, and then it just shows her, and then they're like, oh my god, no way, she is fast. I got to work harder to like catch up to her, kind of a thing. And then it comes back to that whole like element of sports anime where you want to get as good as your rival.
Yeah, it does that, but I just can't take it seriously at all. But
no, of course not.
It's
But
gonna be,
it's hilarious that it has that.
It's going to be entertaining, though, and that's all I care about. Like, that's something I feel like a lot of people throw to the wayside and just ignore when they watch these sort of shows. They go like, "Oh, it's just full of fan service and whatnot," and then they don't think about the entertainment value here. If you actually give it a full-on chance, you might have fun with it, and that's all that really matters. Even if the premise is ridiculous. And one of you two are probably going to use this against me for the next show, so...
I know, I legitimately agree, because I was actually expecting, since it's an entire cast of females, we've got swimsuits, that we're going to be seeing a ton of cleavage, a ton of nude shot type angles, things. And we didn't actually get that many, not nearly as many as I thought. It was actually pretty tame in that aspect. So
For what it
does exist.
Exactly.
It's still there, so...
Like when she did the butt cannon and everyone's swimsuit just like disintegrated.
Well, it just shows the power of the butt cannon. I mean, it's a dangerous weapon, clearly, that needed to have consequences. Clothing, disintegrated, gone, poof.
I mean, she's basically Goku.
Spirit bomb. So are you saying we're gonna get a butt bomb at some point where she's gonna summon all of the Earth's energy into her butt? And
I'm just saying I'm gonna be very disappointed. No, I'm just gonna be very disappointed if she doesn't scream her move as she uses the vacuum butt cannon.
Didn't she already?
She did in the first episode.
Oh, no. Oh wait, no, because she didn't know what it was called.
No, yeah, she never knew what it was called though.
Yeah. Yeah, she has to scream it out. That's the only way. That'll make it anime.
Then she'll actually be Goku.
Of Keijo. And I'm okay with that.
Goku.
She will literally transform character-wise. She'll look like Goku. So.
No, I wanted them to put her in Dragon Ball Z.
Oh, even better. She would fit quite well. Super could use it.
Well, that's going to be interesting if they do, which they won't. I hope not.
I don't think you have to hope on this.
But at least they got that Dead or Alive crossover with the outfits, so... The DLC costumes.
The volleyball one?
I think it was the volleyball one. They both have an absurd amount, but it was one of them. So,
I mean, that was the most fan service one.
What are you talking about? It's great.
The volleyball action is fantastic, and I mean the mini games are very addictive. And probably my favorite feature of the original is that I could put a bunch of music on my Xbox and listen to music while playing volleyball. It was very relaxing. Don't knock it until you tried it.
Yeah,
they should make a game of Keijo. Like they need to make like a PS Vita game or PSP game of Keijo. If it hasn't been made yet, that'll sell millions. Someone hire me.
Yeah, say you better copyright that idea. Just say, hey, look, I got this planned out. Contact me. We'll work something out.
Exactly. It's basically just gonna be a fighting game, but like, you know, Keijo style. That'll sell millions in Japan. Japan loves that stuff. Let's do it. Make
You're
money.
a genius.
Profit.
Okay.
That's how we're gonna make our money. All right. So let's go ahead and go into Yuri on Ice. Ray hasn't watched it, right?
Mm-hmm. Nope.
Not one episode of it?
Nope. I've seen tweets with pictures of when you don't like knock the ugly kid in class because he could turn to this.
Oh yeah. Well, it was in that episode 3, which I haven't seen yet.
And he's all suave or something.
Yeah. It's an ice skating anime. That's what it is. It's an ice skating anime of this guy. He loses in some kind of championship round. He goes back to Japan and he performs a ice skating routine, I guess, privately, but it was recorded by, I guess, his childhood friends' kids were recording it, uploaded onto YouTube, or probably not YouTube, whatever. And then one of the...
I don't know why. That's
and then a famous Russian ice skater sees it and wants to become his trainer, basically, is what I've gotten out of it so far. And then the main character is Yuri, and then there's also the Russian Yuri that comes in and wants to train with I don't know what's his name.
Victor.
Victor, yeah. Train with Victor. Those are the 3 main characters. Yuri, and Victor.
Too much Yuri. That's something I usually don't say.
Yeah, I never thought I'd hear those words come out of your mouth, but goodness, let it be known. We have it now recorded.
Mm-hmm.
So. Yeah, two Yuris at one time, too much Yuri.
So I wasn't too sure what to expect from this show, because I'd seen the previews, and I was like, oh great, this is going to be heavily in innuendo, and it's probably going to muddle the product, but surprisingly, I've seen 3 episodes thus far, and I have been very pleased with what I've seen. First of all, from a visual standpoint, Mappa does a fantastic job. The choreography is well done. They actually have a Japanese professional figure skater working on the choreography for it, and it looks good. It's smooth. Ice skating I've never been a fan of, but it's about telling a story, and you feel that story that they're telling. You want to feel that emotion, and you really do from each one. It doesn't feel lazy. It doesn't feel like they phone it in, and that really impressed me, because that is kind of the big sell of it, is telling that story, getting that emotion, and you get that there. And it's about a young man who's at a point in his life where he's gained a bunch of weight, he's stressed out, he's not doing well at all, and he's sort of lost his passion, his drive, and he skates that routine, but he skates it so differently than anything else, and Victor sees it, and it's sort of like, hey, I'm going to take this legendary figure takes on a student, but it's done in a modern twist where it's recorded, put it on it, like basically YouTube. He watches it. It's like, I'm going to train you. And surprisingly, the innuendo is kept to a very minimal aspect while focusing primarily on character development and storytelling.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I got kind of an opposite feel from it. When I watched the trailer, I was like, oh, this is going to be like a super artistic-y kind of like show with ice skating and everything like that. And then I kind of got the opposite of it within the first episode where Victor pops out of the Yosen and there's his butt,
Yeah, that was at the end of the episode. So, yeah, I will admit that was a bit much. And Victor does a few things, but it fits him because his personality is very flamboyant. So I kind of tie in with that.
Russians are very... I don't know anything about Russians, but...
Well, I was going to say, ooh.
Kind of expert here.
Expert Russian? Are you Russian?
I am not, so you're safe.
Okay. Okay. All right. But, when I first, looked at it, I was like, oh, it's going to be, super artistic-y, but it seemed a little bit more comedic. There was a lot more comedy involved in the show. Than I thought there would be. I thought it would be very, very serious. But I do have to say that because I've only seen the first 2 episodes, when Yuri, the Japanese Yuri, was doing the routine that Victor did in the past, it was really, really well done. Mappa, yeah, they did an amazing job just, showing the performance of that routine. And it was really well done. I have really no words for it. I haven't seen the newest episodes. 3 and 4, I think, came out recently. I'm not sure.
I think I saw a cut of that performance on Facebook or Twitter or something, and it did look good. It just still didn't get me interested personally.
Yeah, it looked really, really good, and Mappa's done a lot of good stuff too. They did Ushio Totoro, and they were able to capture that 80s, 90s feel of anime. So
well, I was gonna say it's fucking Mappa though. They do pretty damn good stuff most of the time. Let's not forget though they did do Days. So are they still doing Days? Is that still?
They're still going on.
Yeah, so they're still doing Days, and that's it exists, but if we ignore that, they do pretty good shit.
Yeah, if you look at the background art, the food has such great detail. Everything to it is almost ridiculously detailed. So, which is very pleasant to see another studio go to those lengths, and I really appreciate that. But yeah, the figure skating performance, you feel the emotion, you feel. Just Yuri kind of lays his feelings out, and it gives such a more depthful understanding of his character and of his person, and especially from more character-driven stories, that's what you want. You want to understand him. He's someone who doesn't really express himself terribly well, and he gets really nervous in performances, but in that practice, that's where we see his potential. That's where we see him. And I really appreciate them handling like that. And in terms of the yaoi aspects as well, I don't know how far they're going to go with that. They tease some things, but primarily it just seems to be about a young man finding his identity in life. That's kind of the basis I get from the first 3 episodes. He's got a goal. He's going to work towards it. And, just kind of finding out about himself as a person. What direction does he want to go? How does he feel about things in life? Just self-discovery would be the best way to describe it. So, very surprising. I didn't expect to enjoy it as much as I did, so.
Yeah, even though when I expected it to be very serious, and it came out to not be, I actually like it a little bit more, because I'm not really, into, super serious, artsy kind of anime. So I'm kind of glad that it was kind of a little bit more toned down, but it still had that, very, the visually nice figure skating that they put in there. It was very fluid from what I saw. So I really like what I'm seeing. I still need to see the next few episodes, but it's interesting. I want to see where it goes.
Well, and you mentioned such an important aspect there is balance. I'm a little iffy about the chibi scenes. They're a little too offsetting with mood, but I get what they're going for with it. But no, it's important for a show to be balanced. You can't just be dark all the time. You have to kind of balance certain things. I mean, hey, I love a good action flick, as much as the next guy does, but it's sometimes you kind of need to kind of have that balance with it. Like a movie like Die Hard, where it's action, then you kind of have, these calm sequences, builds back up to action again, and that's kind of what you get here. You don't want drama on top of drama on top of drama. That becomes smothering. And I think that's something that the show, you mentioned, it does a really good job with. It looks like, this might be a little pretentious, might be a little too full of itself, but,
Yeah, but the detail, I mean, probably for me, the biggest thing was like the animation for the ice skating. Like you see, like it's not just like ice skating and movement, but you see it on their faces too. There is a facial expression when they're doing the ice skating.
Oh, the facial expressions, the body language. You see the
it's
marks on the ice actually too. So yeah.
Yeah, it captures it very, very well of ice skating. I mean, like when I was younger, I used to watch ice skating. I was a big fan of Michelle Kwan. She was my favorite ice skater. Yeah, she's OG.
She is. She's OG. Nancy Kerrigan was too before that whole clubbing incident. So. Yeah,
so it's nice to, and you don't really see a lot of these kind of anime, or this kind of sport anime. It's not really, I guess it's sport anime. Ice skating is a sport. It's a rare type of sport. I mean, you'll see like basketball and baseball and the typical sport, but this, like the more artsy kind, like this, you don't see very often.
Yeah.
So it's nice that, and they presented it in the best possible way that you can.
Well, I think that's an important thing too, is that, it's, even if you have zero interest in figure skating, or even if you think that it may be going towards that yaoi direction, which who knows, maybe it will, but from the first 3 episodes I saw, even without that, there's enough appeal with the characters and the storytelling to where I feel that, if given a chance, it may impress, Who knows, obviously, you may not like it as much. It definitely strikes me as one of those shows where you'll probably be able to tell within the first 10 minutes of watching it whether that's going to be your thing or not, but definitely they put forth an effort to make it entertaining, enjoyable, and definitely to endear you to the characters.
And it does look like it's an original from what I'm seeing.
Yeah, which makes it even more interesting, is that it's an original. Again, I got an actual figure skater for the choreography. So definitely, for the 2 shows, Izetta, and with also Yuri on Ice for originals, we're definitely getting a surprise this season.
I'm just hoping, like it doesn't flop, because the last original, 91 Days, kind of flopped for me at the end. So that's what I'm kind of hoping.
I didn't want to know that. I was going to watch that sometime. How dare you? This is terrible.
It's still worth watching.
It's still worth watching. Like the story, I don't think the ending was really what the story was about. For me, like,
you're still a bad person.
I don't want to give anything away. What's that?
You're still a bad person. I hate you.
No, the story. Okay, the story is amazing. Like, it's a really fun. Like,
you're
you
genuinely
go
making
through
her
it.
feel bad right now.
I know.
No, I don't.
I'm stammering.
I have people spoil things for me all the time. I still watch it. Spoilers mean nothing to me. I don't care.
Yeah. No, I mean,
Okay, good, it's not a spoiler podcast.
Yeah.
Should have known what I was getting in for.
The one thing I can say though here is, both of you mentioned how you guys actually cared at least a little bit at some point about ice skating. It always bored the living crap out of me. That's why I've not touched it yet. I'll be like, oh, that's beautiful, while I yawn. Like, I have so little interest in it, and it almost sucks, because I almost feel like I need to watch it because I'm hearing that it's good, but I just don't want to, because the premise just doesn't interest me.
Well, there's a nice factor that you're not watching a full performance. It's not like you're watching someone out there skate while judge. You're sitting there, oh, and he nailed that triple axel and a double afterwards. Oh, brilliant, beautiful. No, it's you're getting bits and pieces of segments. It's not a full thing. There's some training montage stuff, so it's part of the show. But I think Sheena would agree that it's a very small portion of each episode.
Yeah. Most of it is, as far as episodes 1 and 2, most of it doesn't really take place on the ice. Animating the ice routine is a lot already on its own, based on what I've seen. So I don't think they're going to really heavily do a lot of ice skating routines. but more of like the development of like, you know, getting that routine down and whatnot. And feeling the routine kind of stuff. I mean, I know that seems kind of like not your style, but, you know, it's good to try at least 1 or 2 episodes of it.
Yeah, we'll see what I can do with that. Another part for me this season, at least, is I'm trying to get so much shit done. And, you know, for example, I'm going to be over there soon because I'm taking another trip out to California. I just a little short on time. I'm focusing on other things right now this season. I'm super excited for next season. But that's not what this one's about.
No, it's not.
But
we're not getting into that yet.
Spoilers, it's going to be a really good season so far, it looks like.
Ooh, spoilers.
Well, see, that's why I appreciate you guys having me on here, because with first impressions, I never watch anything other than the first episode of a show, because I'm always doing the next show, and I never really get time in between. So this was a nice change of pace for me to actually watch more episodes. I enjoyed it. It felt reminiscent of what I used to do in my past. A tear went down my face.
Do it again.
I just might.
See, I gotta stop looking at Annie chart and looking at what's coming out next season, because it's just getting me so hyped for a season. It's like when the season's still only just begun.
We're only doing 1, 2, and 3 of this season, and you're already looking at the new one.
Because it's looking so good. Oh,
okay,
God.
okay.
Just anybody, we're not going to talk about it. Just go look at Annie chart, though. There's some real good potential there and some good sequels.
Well, yeah. I mean, there are a lot of things I'm looking forward to, too, but I don't know. I'm just too focused on stuff right now to look forward to, except for Full Metal Panic.
This is probably one of the seasons where I've watched the least amount I've watched in a long time, honestly.
Really?
Yeah, just a lot of stuff that I'm like, oh, that sounds like it might be interesting, but I just don't care for the premise enough to keep pushing me. Like, I don't know.
Oh, I'm
like
watching
I said,
a lot.
I enjoyed the first episode of Scorching Ping Pong Girls. Haven't continued it yet though, because while it was enjoyable, it just wasn't good enough though. Like, I don't know. There's just not a lot of shows this season. Occult 9, I have no interest in, which we were going to actually have to talk about. So I was almost forced to watch it. But then Crunchyroll took it down for like 2 days, the first 2 episodes.
Yeah, do you know what's up with that?
I haven't heard anything about it. We were talking about that actually while you were eating, how weird that was. And I mentioned how Fairy Tail, for some reason, episode 12 is there, and then it jumps to 49. But that's been that way for a long time on Crunchyroll.
Oh.
Yeah,
I did not. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it came back within the next 2 days, so.
Yeah, it's just interesting to. I would love to know why, but I feel like we'll never find out. Yeah. There's also the fact, though, that show's getting like bad first impressions, so that doesn't exactly put it high on my list of things to watch in a season where I'm not watching much.
Yeah, I don't really want to get into it, but it's a thing.
It's definitely a thing. People made it.
It's a thing.
Studio produced it, and some people are watching it and liking it, and some people aren't.
Actually, one of the few shows I want to watch, I have nowhere to legally stream it, so I haven't been watching it.
What show?
Lou was recommending it on his channel recently, actually.
Was that the one that's available on Amazon?
It might be, but it's like
the one without any dialogue, right?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, there's an anime out on Amazon Prime.
The Fune wo Amu.
No, that might be the one
series
that's on
follows
Amazon?
employees at Genbu Shoga Publishing Company. Doesn't like you'd think that would be mentioned somewhere. Here, let me watch the trailer a little bit. No, there's talking. Yeah, there's already dialogue. So.
Oh, okay. So it's not the one that I was thinking of. Okay, never mind.
No, but he's apparently loves it, and I want to watch that. But from what I can see, there's no legal streaming route, so I might be wrong about that. But I tend not to watch something if there's no legal streaming route. So.
Right. Yeah.
Get on that Crunchyroll. Get on that Funimation. Get on that Daisuke. Somebody.
Anybody. Just get all the anime. Why do there's so many anime that's on Crunchyroll, and a lot of them are like crap. It's like, why are you licensing these ones?
That's something we can actually talk about since we have like no good like news outside of Go Watch Shelter. Why does like why are there still shows that don't get licensed, like, and aren't getting simulcast? And at this point, we have multiple competing companies now. You'd think most stuff would get picked up.
That's how it was back during even the big anime distribution days of Geneon, Bandai, the US branch, ADV. Even back then, there'd be shows that just wouldn't get picked up, and whether that's simply from licensing purposes or whether they didn't do as well in sales or didn't think they would be as popular for a Western audience, it's hard to say.
But then you have shows like, I don't know, some of these crappy ones that are happening this season. It's like, why would you license that, but you don't license this, you know?
Clearly, it's to spite you. They're like, we know that Sheena does not want to watch this. She wants to watch this other show. So we're going to pick this show up just for her.
Well, let's not forget, too, like, something like, there's a lot of crossover, and some of that's because of the Funimation and Crunchyroll partnership thing going on, and they've always had a little bit of crossover. But, like, even if you look outside of that crossover, there's ones where Daisuke and Crunchyroll both have something, Funimation and Daisuke have something. Like, that happens to some shows. Meanwhile, there's stuff that apparently is turning out to be pretty good that nobody's legally, like, allowing anybody to stream. And the fact that it didn't get picked up, I just feel like it's a shame at this point to have that happen.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, I feel like some of the stuff is like a kind of like a contractual thing where, you know, they like, you know, some studios probably don't want to send out their licenses out to the US. I don't know. It could just be they don't want it. They don't want to distribute it, which doesn't make sense to me. You know, it's Japan. They can do
I get it
more.
Want. I get it more with DVD releases, DVD/Blu-ray, however you buy your anime nowadays. I don't quite get it as much for streaming because I'm pretty sure the contracts that they do with that stuff just has to do with sharing revenue and percentages. Not like, I don't think Crunchyroll or anybody just pays a lump sum.
Yeah, it's really strange because I mean, even then, like, the visual novel market is a good example. Like, there are some companies that just don't want to do business outside of Japan. They're a lot more receptive now, like, since they started bringing over visual novels, which has been close to 20 years, but yeah, it's still a struggle to kind of get to that point, and I don't know if that has to do with it, but I mean, definitely an interesting project for someone to look into, because especially in the day and age of streaming, you would think it would be a lot more accessible and more desirable to do that, to make it more available, because I mean, hey, if a Western company licensed it, they're paying them for the license, which means they're making money. As a business, that is your goal, to make a profit. So I don't know, it's curious.
Yeah. So was there any other news aside from Shelter? Because that was like the biggest thing that happened in the past week.
No, there really. I was trying my hardest to find something and there wasn't. I'm just upset because it's a damn shame that I can't find anywhere to legally stream one of the few shows I want to watch this season. Especially that's not a fucking sequel, because Haikyuu and Sound Euphonium Season 2 are two of the only other shows I really care about outside of like Izetta and the few we've talked about.
Okay. So let's go ahead and end the podcast here. So Michael, why don't you go ahead and plug your YouTube channels and your social medias?
Goodness, why would they want to watch my stuff? Why would they want to follow me? I just post pictures of food on my Twitter, which is at CyanideBlizzard, and all I do is post first impressions of shows where Draconis insults Moe, and I have mixed opinions about things. If you YouTube search for CyanideBlizzard, you should find my channel. I have the black and white avatar with the girl with the ponytail. So I'll probably be keeping that for a while. But yeah, you can find me there, and on Twitter I'm yet again at CyanideBlizzard, one word. So.
And if you have trouble finding that for some reason, they'll all be down in the description below. But that is it for the episode. I hope you guys enjoyed, and we will see you all next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.